I'd like to welcome everyone for our monthly opportunities and HIT session. I'm Charlene Banta. I'm the program director of the Health Information Technology program at St. John's River State College in St. Augustine. We partner with the Northeast Florida Health Information Management Association to offer these sessions each month where we invite health information management and health information technology professionals to come share their story, come share a bit about their career path and answer questions. These are primarily for our students and for students across the state, but we, as sort of a community service, we do offer this to all professionals and open it up to earn one CEU for being here with us. So thank you for making the time to spend an hour with us this afternoon. Today we have Jennifer Minear, who is an operations manager with Mayo Clinic. She works in the health information management department there and is based in Rochester, so up in Minnesota. So Jennifer, thank you so much for your time and for being with us this afternoon. At this time, I'll turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for the welcome and thank you for the invite. I'm very glad to be here. So I will go ahead and I'll run through some slides that just provide a high-level overview of my journey so far in my career in HIM. And then, of course, I want to hear from all of you as far as any questions you have just about my journey or in general about the HIMSS field. So I'll go ahead and I'll get started. So as Charlene noted, I currently work as an operations manager at Mayo Clinic. I was based out of Rochester, Minnesota, but now I do work from home. After COVID, the majority of our team did transition to full-time telework. So that's definitely been a perk. So I also have a part-time job as an adjunct instructor for the Masters in Health and Human Services program at St. Mary's University of Minnesota. So I do teach one class for that program. It is Health Informatics and Application. So total, I've worked in the HIMSS field for about 17 years, all at Mayo. And then I've worked in education for about 3 years now. So a little bit more about my educational background. So most recently, of course, I completed my master's degree or my MBA through St. Mary's University of Minnesota. And before that, I completed my bachelor's in computer information systems through the College of St. Scholastica, which is based in northern Minnesota. And then my HIT degree was through Rochester Community and Technical College in Rochester, Minnesota. My certification, my RHIT certification or Registered Health Information Technician certification is through the American Health Information Management Association or AHIMA. An excellent organization to belong to. And Charlene, I think you're heavily involved with AHIMA or the Florida State Association.
Yep.
So definitely a great organization. If you are able to join as student members, it's a great way to make a lot of nice connections and really better understand the field. Also through Mayo Clinic, I have bronze and silver level certification through the Quality Fellows program. So what that means is that I've worked on projects that have qualified as process improvement projects that have met certain criteria to earn the bronze or silver level certification. So my career path so far, back in 2004, I started at Mayo as a receptionist in the HIMSS area. And more specifically, that was at Mayo Clinic Health System, a site in Southeast Minnesota. From there, I moved into a records processing role Again, that was health system specific at a site in Southeast Minnesota. And what I did in records processing is my focus was to review inpatient records to ensure that all documentation that's required, it was completed and signed off in a timely manner. From there, I moved into a supervisor role in HIMSS. And as a supervisor, I oversaw all sections of HIMSS for a specific site in Southeast Minnesota health system. So when I say all sections, I mean completion, compliance, and escalation, or more of that chart completion work, release of information. So that would be when an outside requester asks for copies of medical records. We have various workflows that help guide us through those requests. Also, record content management, or as you all may be familiar with, like paper chart management, document imaging, so scanning of paper medical records, turning them into a digital file so that they can be uploaded into the patient's electronic health record. Then after my supervisor role, I transitioned into a business analyst role, or a senior business analyst. And that's when I became more heavily involved with project work, or larger scale projects. So one that stands out in memory would be the implementation of an enterprise content management solution for document management. So again, when we talk about the scanning of paper to turn it into a digital file for storage in the patient's medical record, the implementation of this enterprise content management solution program allowed us to store all scanned content, no matter which site at Mayo the document originated at. We scan everything under consistent document types, and everything is stored in one central repository. And then after my senior business analyst role, I transitioned into an operations manager role. And that is where I am currently still. So I've been in my operations manager role since 2019. And so specifically, I oversee the projects section of HIMSS. So not to be confusing by any means, but our Health Information Management Services department consists of different sections, and each section is enterprise-wide. So I oversee a team of business analysts and senior business analysts that are located at various sites for, or teleworking now, that originate out of various sites at Mayo. So it can be Florida, Arizona, Minnesota health system, or Rochester, and then Wisconsin. So the business analyst and senior business analyst, of course, that's the role I used to do. They work on projects of various size and scope for Mayo. Many of the projects obviously are HIMSS-centric, but we also manage we manage some external facing products such as Care Everywhere and CareLink. So those are tools that they are Epic products. So Epic is our EHR, our electronic health record, and Care Everywhere and CareLink are two tools that we use so that users outside of Mayo are able to access Mayo medical records. And in the case of Care Everywhere, that goes both ways. So our providers at Mayo can see into another organization's Epic chart with proper authorization in place from the patient to do so. And CareLink allows physicians that refer patients to Mayo to see into our record at Mayo. All right. So I just wanted to take a peek at a few questions in the chat. Um, so before I keep going here, I'll quick answer this question about the my BA degree. So this is a very great question. So with regard to your BA degree, why did you choose that major? And how do you use that degree in conjunction with HIMSS work? Excellent question. So I'm going to go back to that slide here. So my BA, again, was in computer information systems through the College of St. Scholastica. And why I chose that route instead of the bachelor's degree in HIM is because I wanted to get a better understanding on computer information systems, just as it says, because I knew that as I knew with changes that were going to be coming as far as the rollout of a new enterprise electronic health record, and just really the expectation that HIMSS would utilize or leverage technology for future workflows. I knew that I wanted to have a better understanding on how systems worked. And I knew I really enjoyed project work, and my favorite projects had a lot to do with the implementation of new systems or applications. So with the degree in CIS, I was able to understand the life cycle of this rolling out or of a system. So from that initial point where you're trying to identify what type of a system you need to achieve the goals you want to achieve, how do you tell a vendor what you need in a system, all the way to the rollout of the solution, all the testing that goes along with that. Is that solution compatible with the existing solutions or systems you have at your organization? And then you, of course, get to a point, hopefully several years down the road, where you actually talk about decommissioning the system. And how do you go about that? What do you do with all the content stored in that system? And how do you get to the point where it's safe to shut it down? So that's what drove me to pursue that degree. Um, and then my master's or my MBA, I went that route because I wanted a more general degree that wasn't necessarily healthcare centric, because I wanted to be sure I had that well-rounded educational experience. So that way I was prepared for whatever I may end up doing in the future. So long-winded answer, but I hope that helps. Okay. So a little bit more about my current role as an operations manager. So as I said, I oversee the project section of HIMSS. I have an awesome team of business analysts and senior business analysts. But of course, there are many other pieces to what I do every day. So this paragraph I included on this slide basically is just copied right out of my job description. So an operations manager at Mayo, no matter which department you work in, this is basically what is expected of you. You coordinate operations of allied health staff in the outpatient, inpatient setting for a department or division in alignment with institutional and departmental or division, the mission, vision, and objectives. You serve as a key member of the leadership team with a primary focus on planning and implementation of policies and systems. You facilitate project management while leading a multidisciplinary team, including financial analysis, problem solving, and team collaboration. You regulate staffing in accordance with fluctuating workload, and you partner in the support of department or division and institutional projects, staff recruitment, policy implementation, and you serve as a primary resource for issues and communications. You perform duties independently and initiate judgment in handling a variety of management issues. And your direct reports may include operational and clinical supervisors and/or department or division personnel. So again, this is basically what's expected of any operations manager at Mayo. So the operations manager job title is utilized in, it's an enterprise job description. So it's utilized in a variety of departments, clinical or non-clinical, and which I think helps create a lot of opportunity for operations managers. So if you become an operations manager, let's say in HIMSS, and you decide you'd like to venture out and try being an operations manager in, I don't know, dermatology, you have that foundation and that understanding of the role, no matter where you end up in your career. The requirements of my role are listed on this slide. So a bachelor's degree is required. The preference is a master's degree in business or a healthcare related field and 2 years of healthcare management experience. And they look for folks with strong leadership, team building, problem solving skills, and a demonstrated ability to work collaboratively with multiple disciplines such as physicians, administrative, supervisory, allied health staff. If you don't have a master's degree or that 2 years of experience, a bachelor's degree with a combination of directly related experience and education may be considered as well. So you'll notice that with a lot of the job postings, you may find on the Mayo website that they may look for a master's degree and 2 years of experience, or maybe a bachelor's degree with more experience. So it just depends on the job that you're looking at. The operations manager role, for anyone interviewing for an OM job, they look for, again, excellent communication skills, organizational skills, human relations skills. You need to be good at making decisions, judgment capabilities, and they want you to have a broad based knowledge of office support and computer systems. So spreadsheets, Microsoft Excel files, databases, statistics, software knowledge, and accounting practices for budgetary responsibilities. So you have to be able to manage a department budget, basically. So a few things that I like about the role, the OM role, I pretty much like everything about it, but these are the items I wanted to quickly highlight. So as an OM at Mayo, it's a great opportunity to really gain experience, not only in that specific area where you're an OM, but you also gain other skills. You're learning more about project management. You're collaborating with project managers and folks from other departments. You better understand the need for performance improvement initiatives, the need to have good data so you can analyze that data to help you make decisions as a leader. You also gain more experience working, of course, with financials, or as I noted on the previous slide, your department budget and how that relates to the overall financials at Mayo. You also get exposure to processes in other departments. So maybe you're working on a project and you think, oh, it'd be great if I changed, certain things in HIMSS to make workflows more efficient in HIMSS. Well, you also have to think about how that's impacting other departments at Mayo. So if HIMSS says, we're all teleworking now, you can't send us paper anymore. Well, HIMSS, as HIMSS, we need to figure out what type of solution can we offer our customers outside of HIMSS. So if it's medical administrative assistants or desk specialists or members of the care team, they would then need a way to deliver documents to HIMSS in a way that will not negatively impact their workflows or require them to spend more time on that process. The OM role is also a great opportunity to partner with physicians, administrators, nursing leadership, and ensuring that the strategic plan in HIMSS aligns with the plan for not only Mayo as a whole, but also the plans for different departments. So again, if HIMSS says, hey, one of our goals is we aren't taking paper anymore, we have to make sure our customers know that and they know how to send us documentation going forward. You also, as an OM, you get an opportunity to take part in different committees at Mayo, different work teams. So I'm currently a secretary on a committee and an assistant secretary on a different committee. So a lot of opportunity there to connect with folks in other departments again and better understand how they do what they do. Also, of course, staff development. That's probably one of the things I look forward to the most is regular connection opportunities with my employees and helping them achieve their goals. Even if it means they want to pursue a role in a department outside of HIMSS, that is completely fine. Of course, I do everything I can to help them achieve their goal, no matter what it is at Mayo. And then just problem solving. I think every day and probably any role you have, you're continuously problem solving and trying to figure out how to do things smarter, more efficiently, how to leverage technology that's available, while still continuing, of course, to put the needs of the patient first. Ultimately, my favorite part of the role is just that you never have a dull moment. Every day is different. I can go into work in the morning and look at my calendar and think I know what's going to happen that day, but it always changes. So just depending on what comes up throughout the course of the day. So I like that. So that's again, one of my favorite things, or probably my favorite part of the role. So I didn't want to title this slide, or I didn't want to call these challenges, but I think when you're in a leadership role, these are 4 of the key items that I hear or I experience, as opportunities, I guess I would say. So I probably should have put communication first, because I think no matter how great of a communicator you are, communication is always going to be something that either you or I don't think you can ever over communicate, especially as when we're all working from home now. My group is all working from home. I'm working from home. So just to keep the communication open, and find ways to still connect with each other, even though we don't have the opportunities for, a water cooler conversation any longer. So some of the things we've been doing with my team is we've been trying to have virtual coffee breaks, virtual huddles. We've just been looking for different opportunities to still connect, even if it's just on video, instead of being together face to face. Change management, I think that could almost be a sub-bullet under communication, because I think communication is the key item in order for a change to be successful. So when I think about change management, I think about the importance of ensuring all of the stakeholders are aware of the change. Back to my story about changing, or him saying we're not taking paper anymore. We need to make sure we've talked with our stakeholders or our customers to ensure they have a method of sending documentation to HIMSS, and we're not making their lives more difficult, or we're not adding time onto their day. Ambiguity, I think that's another challenge, definitely. You you don't always know all of the details of different scenarios that you're dealing with. Sometimes you're walking into situations and you don't know anything. So you always have to, I think, be able to think on your feet, and also realize it's okay to not have all the answers on the spot. If you have to go back and check in with one of your employees, or look at some data before you offer an answer, that's okay. You just have to be comfortable with that. And then just being an effective leader. I know for myself, I always want to make sure that my employees are walking away from conversations feeling good about the outcome, feeling like they've gotten everything they needed out of that conversation, and that I'm helping them achieve their goals, and having the career that they want to have at Mayo. But still ensuring that we're getting our work done, and doing so, doing a good job with our work. Okay, so that is the end of my slides. So it looks like we have plenty of time for questions. I am happy to answer any questions you guys have, so please feel free to jump in.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. What an interesting journey you've had. I appreciate you sharing.
Of course.
So if you have any questions, feel free to enter them in the chat. You can also unmute yourself and ask verbally, completely up to you.
I had a question.
Go ahead.
I was wondering if you consider yourself a natural leader, or was that something you kind of worked out over time?
Oh, that is a great question. So I I don't think I even realized how much I enjoyed leadership until that when that supervisor role opened up. My manager at that time really she I don't want to say she talked me into applying for the supervisor role, but I was a little cautious about it. I wasn't quite sure I had it in me to be a leader. But I did apply for it, and then it didn't take long to realize how much I enjoyed it. Again, it comes with its challenges, definitely, but it's so rewarding at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Well, while we're waiting, I'm curious to hear about your transition to working from home. How long were you working on site before you had to make that transition, and how's that been for you?
So I worked on site my entire career up until 2020. So I've been working remote for about 18 months now, and it it definitely has its pros and cons. I think if you ask anybody, I think one of the first things you'll hear them say is, I like working from home, but I just miss the people. I miss the face-to-face contact with my coworkers, and the routine of going into the office, and knowing what you're going to be doing that day. So I think once I got past that, and realized, we can use Zoom, we can talk to each other on video, we can have virtual coffees and virtual huddles. That helped quite a bit. And now I think one of the main challenges I hear from my staff are just work-life balance. When you have your office set up at home, it's easy to just quick run into the office and pull up your email and answer a few emails if you have a few minutes to kill on the weekends. And when you actually had to go into the office to do that, I think that you are definitely less likely to be logging in during the off hours. So that's been something that I've been working on with my team, just to make sure everyone knows it's okay to shut that computer down at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and kudos to you for being an advocate for your team to create those boundaries because they can certainly get blurred.
Absolutely.
So it looks like we do have a question in the chat.
Okay, so do you see the work from home environment staying this way in the future after COVID protocols? Yes, for HIMSS, I know our plan is to stay remote. And again, that we did make this transition quickly due to COVID, but it was a goal for the majority of the positions in HIMSS to eventually be remote. So this really just expedited that process. One benefit of that is certainly that we were able to recruit folks from everywhere, from all over the United States now, instead of just recruiting within a certain distance from a Mayo site. So I think it's opened up a lot of great opportunities as well.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Oh my God, so I just went blank. Do you, oh my God, where did my question just go? Sorry, I'm multitasking here. Oh, it came back to me. Do you, in HIM or the OM, do you have any patient interaction, or is it all just with your staff personally?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my staff, and then also folks from multiple departments at Mayo. So I work regularly with physicians, administrators, nursing leadership, other OMs, just tons of different people at Mayo. And then interaction with patients, that depends on which section you're within HIMSS. So our release of information section, for example, so that would again be the group that as requests come in from external parties who want access to medical records, Mayo medical records, they would go through the release of information department. So patients would submit a request to the release of information group, and then they would work directly with, that group would work directly with the patient to get that request processed. So there are definitely areas in HIMSS where we're directly interacting with patients. My area, typically not, but of course the work we do certainly does directly impact the patient. One example of that would be patient questionnaires. There's some business analysts in my group who help design and implement patient-facing questionnaires. So if you're a patient at Mayo and you log into the portal, you have an upcoming visit and your doctor says, here, I need you to fill out these questionnaires before your visit. There's a few business analysts on my team who actually help get those rolled out. So it would be more indirect patient contact, I guess I could say.
I have a question.
Mhm.
When you're interviewing a staff, what kind of qualities are you looking for in relates to the HIM positions?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I'm interviewing for, let's say, a business analyst or a senior business analyst position, I'm going to be looking for somebody that has a strong background in HIMSS, or if they don't, somebody who is definitely familiar with how like the life cycle of a project, or implementing a system, and how to really that project management, maybe having a background in systems, some regulatory knowledge. So we have a business analyst who helps manage our policy collection for HIMSS. So we want to make sure that we have an understanding of regulations and how they're changing and how they're impacting the work we do in HIMSS. When we look at some of the other positions in HIMSS, we have HIMSS specialist or HIMSS senior specialist. And there you're going to see the requirements being that you need to have that RHIT, or that Registered Health Information Technician certification, or the RHIA, and that associate's degree in HIT. And then of course we're looking for folks who you know, are critical thinkers and have great attention to detail and are able to handle you know, patient medical record content, you know, maintaining confidentiality when doing so, and also ensuring that we keep the records accurate and readily available or accessible, not only to the providers at Mayo, but also to the patients themselves through the portal or the release of information workflows.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Looks like there's another one in the chat. Do you foresee a nationwide system for the EHR?
Another great question. I know that I can talk a little bit about interoperability. So I really think that interoperability is it's just necessary. And what I mean when I say interoperability is we want to have the ability to share information basic as quickly as possible. So if you, let's say you go on vacation and you're in the emergency room for some reason in another state, and then you go home the next week and you want to see your regular provider, when I mentioned Care Everywhere earlier, at Mayo, our providers are able to access Epic, our electronic health record, use Care Everywhere to run a query and look at your records from the organization you were seen at, if that organization utilizes Epic, or in some cases, even if they don't utilize Epic, but we have an agreement with them. So if I think it would certainly be ideal if we did have a nationwide, just standard system for the EHR, and we could, of course, access each other's information to provide better care for the patient. I think that well, I shouldn't say I think it would be great if someday we got there, but I think we're taking a lot of steps in the right direction to be able to efficiently and effectively share information, even if we're not using the same EHR. And I see there's another question. How do you measure productivity of your staff? So again, that depends on the section we're talking about in HIMSS. But specifically for the folks on my team, what I look at for them is I look at the projects they're working on and determine if the milestones are being met for the projects. So if you're assigned to a project and it's a year-long project, there will be milestones throughout the life of that project. And of course, if those milestones are not being met, which sometimes happens, then that's an additional conversation, and we have to figure out how we meet those milestones. So if it's a matter of the business analyst not getting deliverables ready when they should, that would be a red flag or an indicator that there may be some issues with that person's productivity. Also, for some of our projects, we do track work and time we have a system where we can do that. So I'm able to see how many tasks or assigned work, how much assigned work a business analyst is getting done for a specified amount of time. There, again, it's certainly not straightforward, but I rely a lot on feedback from project managers who partner with the business analysts and others working on the project as well. When we're thinking about other sections in HIMSS, let's say scanning, the folks who process the scanned documents that get uploaded to the medical record, we're able to measure their productivity, of course, based on how many pages per hour they're processing. So we set a minimum number of pages per hour a person has to process, and then we're able to run reports on a regular basis to ensure that they're meeting that requirement.
All right, excellent questions. Any others? So Jennifer, if you don't mind sharing, what are your career goals from here? Have you arrived? Do you want to stay an operations manager, or do you have goals beyond this role?
Yeah, so I definitely have goals. Or I guess my dream would be to eventually move into an administrator role at Mayo. So that's something that I'm definitely striving for. And I think the operations manager role is one that, again, where I can gain a ton of valuable experience that would better set me up if an administrator role were to become available that I could apply for.
Excellent. Yep, absolutely. All right, so Melissa is curious about the projects you're currently working on at Mayo.
So currently my team is working on, I think we have 78 different projects that we're involved in, and various size, various scope. Some examples, one would be, we are looking at e-forms. So when everyone, well, not everyone, but when many staff that were working on site transitioned to working from home, it was quickly quickly became evident that we needed to turn some paper workflows into electronic workflows. So we started looking at a solution for forms that needed to be signed by patients and by physicians. So let's say as a patient, you have a form or you're going to have a surgery. So you need your physician to fill out a document that says you have to be off work for 2 weeks after your surgery. And then when you return to work, you're going to be on light duty. So we had to figure out a way to make it possible for patients to send their forms in, and for our medical administrative assistant staff or whichever staff were going to take that form and send it to the physician, we needed a way for them to do that electronically. So we started looking at an e-form solution, and that is a project that is still, of course, underway. We haven't rolled out a solution yet, but we have a solution identified, and we're working through the implementation or final testing and implementation of that. So we will roll out a few forms. I believe it's around 7 forms here in the next couple of months. The Cures Act, I'm not sure if you're all familiar with the Cures Act, but one section or one piece of the Cures Act is information blocking. So basically what the Cures Act tells us is that we need to ensure that patients are able to access their records, their Mayo records through patient online services. And the Cures Act has defined what types of information need to be accessible via the portal or via patient online services by which date, by what dates. So we've already worked through a few initial phases of that where we've been able to open up several document types that were not visible before on the portal or on patient online services. And we're still working through that project. The hope is by October of 2022 that all content that is considered the designated record set or the medical information that we are required to share with patients will be all available by October of next year. So that project has included several stakeholders. Not only HIMSS, but we've partnered with the practice. And then of course we have our patient portal folks who have to ensure the build is done so that all of that content is visible. So lots of hands in that project. And yep, I see the question in the chat. Yes, the Cures Act. And it looks like Charlene pasted a link. Thank you, Charlene.
Yep, sure thing. All right, any other questions? For those who may not have seen my note in the chat, if you're here for your CEU credit, shoot me an email. Email Charlene Banta at sjrstate.edu, and I'll get that certificate out to you. And I'll go ahead and put it in the chat again. I'll send those out tomorrow. Last call for questions. All right, well, hearing none, Jennifer, I can't thank you enough for your time and sharing your story with us. I greatly appreciate your expertise and just thank you. It was really valuable time. And thanks everyone who joined us. We had 32 participants tonight. I think that's the most we've had so far this year. So excellent turnout. I hope you all have a wonderful evening and we'll do this again next month. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.